Welcome to the study session where we are breaking down the BCBA 6th edition. Today's discussion centers on Task B.2, where we need to define and provide examples of a stimulus and a stimulus class.
We are still hanging out in Domain B, Concepts and Principles, which is the heavy hitter of the exam, making up 14% of the total score, or about 24 questions. If you can't tell the difference between a single stimulus and a class, you're going to have a rough time when we get to the more complex stuff like stimulus equivalence or motivating operations.
Exactly. So, let's start with the basics. A stimulus is essentially anything that a person can experience through their senses. If you can see, hear, smell, feel, or taste it, it's a stimulus.
It's basically our way of saying a thing that happened in the environment without being vague. The sources give some great, punchy examples: a loud bang from a gun, bright sunlight, or even the vibration from a phone in your pocket. It's an energy change that affects an organism through its receptor cells.
Right. But in ABA, we rarely look at stimuli in total isolation. We usually look at a stimulus class. This is a group of stimuli that have a common effect on an operant class. In simpler terms, it's a bunch of different things that all evoke or abate the same behavior.
I like to think of this as the behavioral folder system. Your brain puts different things into the same folder because they all make you do the same thing. The sources break these classes down into 3 specific types that you absolutely need to know for the exam: physical, functional, and temporal.
Let's break those down. First, the physical or formal stimulus class. These are stimuli that look or sound alike.
Easy enough. The classic example is red objects. A red apple, a red fire truck, and a red stop sign all share the physical property of redness. On the exam, if the stimuli are grouped because they share a physical dimension, like all round things or all loud noises, that's a formal stimulus class.
Then we have the functional stimulus class. This one is more interesting because the stimuli might not look anything alike, but they affect behavior the same way.
My favorite example from the sources is different music that makes you dance. A heavy metal song and a techno track look and sound nothing alike physically, but if they both result in you hitting the dance floor, they belong to the same functional stimulus class for you. It's all about the effect on the behavior.
Finally, we have the temporal stimulus class. This refers to when the stimulus occurs in relation to a behavior. This often involves consequences to the same behavior.
This is where the sources give us the squinting example. Think about 3 different things: bright sunlight, turning a light on in the middle of the night, and strong winds. Physically, they are totally different. But temporally, they all function as antecedents that cause a person to squint their eyes.
It's a great way to remember it. Formal is about appearance, functional is about result, and temporal is about timing.
As a BCBA, you have to be able to identify these because if you're trying to generalize a skill, you need to know which stimulus class you're working with. If you only teach a kid to say dog when they see a golden retriever, you've only mastered a very small physical class. You want them to respond to the whole stimulus class of dogs: big ones, small ones, fluffy ones.
And that is exactly what the 175 scored questions are going to test. They'll give you a scenario and ask if the stimuli represent a formal or functional class. If you can identify that they don't look alike but result in the same action, you've got your answer.
It's all about looking past the surface and seeing how the environment is actually controlling the response.
To get more practice identifying these classes in clinical scenarios, head over to www.bcbamockexam.com.
Catch you in the next one.
Bye.